What if I told you that one single detective in Palm Beach, Florida, built a case so airtight against Jeffrey Epstein that it should have sent him to prison for the rest of his life? He identified over 40 victims. He compiled sworn statements. He executed search warrants. He did everything right. And then, the system he trusted to deliver justice buried it. His name was Joseph Recarey. He was a decorated detective with the Palm Beach Police Department, and the war he fought against one of the most powerful predators in modern American history is a story of what happens when one honest cop stands between a billionaire and the machine designed to protect him. Stay till the end, because the document that Detective Recarey filed, the one that should have changed everything, tells you more about the American justice system than any textbook ever could. I'm Mark Epstein, and this is the Epstein Files. It began in March 2005. A woman walked into the Palm Beach Police Department, located at 345 South County Road, Palm Beach, Florida, and told officers that her 14-year-old stepdaughter had been taken to a house at 358 El Brillo Way, a mansion owned by Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and paid $200 to strip down to her underwear and give a man a massage. Source: Palm Beach PD Incident Report, March 2005, Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 1, November 2018. The case was assigned to Detective Joseph Recarey, a veteran investigator with the Palm Beach Police Department's Criminal Investigations Division. Recarey had years of experience. He was methodical, he was persistent, and he had no idea that the case he was about to open would consume his career and test every principle he held. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 1, Palm Beach PD Records. What Recarey discovered in the weeks and months that followed was not an isolated incident involving one teenager. It was a systematic operation. Girl after girl told him the same story, variations of the same horror. They were recruited from local high schools, from shopping malls, from the streets of West Palm Beach. They were told they could make easy money, $200, $300, for giving a massage to a wealthy man. And then, once inside that house at 358 El Brillo Way, the massages became something else entirely. Source: Palm Beach PD Probable Cause Affidavit, 2006, Miami Herald. Perversion of Justice, Parts 1 to 2. But here's where it gets disturbing. Detective Recarey did not cut corners. He conducted his investigation with the precision of someone who understood that the target was not an ordinary suspect. Jeffrey Epstein was a man of extraordinary wealth, with connections to some of the most powerful people in the world. Recarey knew that every statement, every piece of evidence, every procedural step had to be beyond reproach. This investigation utilized primary sources, including PACER, DOJ, FBI Vault, FAA Registry, and the Miami Herald Perversion of Justice series. Over the course of approximately 11 months, from March 2005 through early 2006, Recarey identified and interviewed dozens of victims and witnesses. According to the probable cause affidavit he authored, the investigation ultimately identified approximately 40 victims, most of them minors at the time of the alleged offenses. Source: Palm Beach PD. Probable Cause Affidavit 2006, Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 1. The victims described a pattern. They were brought to 358 El Brillo Way. They were led upstairs to a room with a massage table. Epstein would be partially or fully undressed. What began as a massage escalated to sexual contact. Contact that, under Florida law, constituted sexual battery and lewd and lascivious acts upon a minor. Source: Palm Beach PD Probable Cause Affidavit, 2006. Recarey documented how the operation relied on a recruitment pyramid. Victims were offered additional money, sometimes $200 or more, to bring other girls. This is how the network grew. Teenage girls recruiting other teenage girls, funneling them into the mansion on El Brillo Way. Source: Palm Beach PD Probable Cause Affidavit 2006, Miami Herald. Perversion of Justice, Part 2. On October 20th, 2005, Detective Recarey executed a search warrant on the residence at 358 El Brillo Way, Palm Beach, Florida. Source: Palm Beach PD Records, Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 1. The search recovered critical physical evidence from inside the home. According to reporting by Julie K. Brown of the Miami Herald, officers found photographs of young women, some appearing to be underage, in various areas of the house. They also found massage tables in multiple rooms, hidden cameras, and records consistent with the victim accounts. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 1. Recarey compiled his findings into a probable cause affidavit, a document that laid out the evidence against Epstein with meticulous, granular detail. The affidavit recommended that Jeffrey Epstein be charged with multiple counts, including sexual battery and lewd and lascivious molestation of a minor. He presented this to the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office, led at the time by State Attorney Barry Krischer. Source: Palm Beach PD, Probable Cause Affidavit, 2006, Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 2. And this is where Detective Recarey's war truly began. Pause. Now, if you're still here, it means you can handle the truth. So let me show you what they didn't want you to see. Pause. Detective Recarey had built a case supported by the testimony of dozens of victims, physical evidence seized under warrant, and corroborating witnesses. Under normal circumstances, a case of this magnitude, involving the serial sexual abuse of minors, would result in serious felony charges. Pause. But the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office, under Barry Krischer, did not pursue the charges Recarey's investigation supported. Instead, in 2006, Krischer's office took the unusual step of presenting the case to a grand jury, but with a dramatically reduced scope. The grand jury returned a single indictment, one count of solicitation of prostitution, a charge that, critically, did not even acknowledge that the victims were children. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 2, Palm Beach County Court Records, 2006. Think about that for a moment. Pause. A detective identifies approximately 40 victims, many of them minors. He compiles a probable cause affidavit supporting multiple felony sex crime charges. And the state attorney's office reduces it to a single charge of solicitation of prostitution, a charge that frames the children as prostitutes rather than victims. Pause. Detective Recarey was, according to reporting by the Miami Herald, deeply disturbed by this outcome. He had done everything the system asked of him, and the system had failed the victims. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 2. But Recarey did not stop. When it became clear that the state attorney's office was not going to pursue appropriate charges, the Palm Beach Police Department took an extraordinary step, one that is almost unheard of in American law enforcement. Police Chief Michael Reiter wrote a letter to State Attorney Barry Krischer, formally requesting that Krischer recuse himself from the case. Reiter then referred the case directly to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 2, referenced in Case 08-80736 CIV filings. The FBI opened its own investigation, and that investigation confirmed what Recarey had already documented. The FBI identified a similar number of victims and corroborated the pattern of abuse at 358 El Brillo Way. Source: FBI investigation referenced in Case 08-80736 CIV, Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 3. The case was now in federal hands, under the jurisdiction of the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida. The lead federal prosecutor was Assistant United States Attorney A. Marie Villafana. Her office prepared a federal indictment, a 53-page document that detailed charges that could have sent Jeffrey Epstein to federal prison for life. Source: Miami Herald, Perversion of Justice, Part 3, referenced in Case 08-80736 CIV. This is where the official story falls apart. I'm Mark Epstein, and I'll see you in the next file. Hit subscribe and the bell icon. Share this before it disappears from your feed. Next file, coming soon. That 53-page indictment was never filed. Instead, in June 2008, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, R. Alexander Acosta, approved a non-prosecution agreement. This agreement, sometimes referred to as the NPA, allowed Jeffrey Epstein to plead guilty to 2 state charges: 1 count of solicitation of prostitution and 1 count of procurement of minors for prostitution. In exchange, Epstein would serve 18 months in the Palm Beach County Stockade, register as a sex offender, and the federal government would close its investigation. Critically, the NPA included a provision that granted immunity not only to Jeffrey Epstein, but also to any potential co-conspirators, named and unnamed. The agreement was executed without notifying the victims, in violation of the Crime Victims' Rights Act, as was later found by a federal judge. And Epstein's actual incarceration? He was granted a work release program that allowed him to leave the county stockade 6 days a week for up to 12 hours a day to report to a private office in downtown West Palm Beach. He served approximately 13 months of his 18-month sentence. 13 months, work release. For a man whose own federal investigators had identified dozens of minor victims. Everything Detective Joseph Recarey had built, every interview, every victim statement, every piece of physical evidence, had been effectively neutralized by the very system he had entrusted with his work. In November 2020, the Department of Justice's Office of Professional Responsibility released a report on the conduct of Alexander Acosta and the handling of the Epstein plea deal. The report concluded that Acosta exercised poor judgment, but did not find that he committed professional misconduct. The victims and their advocates strongly disagreed with this finding. The legal challenge to the non-prosecution agreement was filed by attorneys representing Epstein's victims, most prominently attorney Bradley Edwards. The case, Jane Doe No. 1 and Jane Doe No. 2 versus United States of America, case number 08-80736 CIV, in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida, argued that the victims' rights under the Crime Victims' Rights Act had been violated. On February 21, 2019, Judge Kenneth A. Mara ruled in favor of the victims, finding that the federal government had indeed violated the CVRA by concealing the NPA from the victims. That ruling came nearly 13 years after Recarey first opened his investigation, and Detective Joseph Recarey did not live to see it. Joseph Recarey died on May 25, 2018. He was 50 years old. According to public records, his death was attributed to a medical condition. There is no public evidence suggesting foul play, and I want to be clear about that. I will not suggest otherwise. But the timing is unavoidable in the minds of many who followed this case. He died just months before Julie K. Brown's Perversion of Justice series was published in November 2018. The reporting that finally brought the Epstein case back to national attention and led to Epstein's arrest in 2019. Recarey never saw the federal indictment of July 8, 2019, case number 19 CR 490 in the Southern District of New York, the one that finally charged Epstein with sex trafficking and conspiracy. He never saw the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell on July 2, 2020. He never saw her conviction on December 29, 2021. The man who built the case that could have stopped Jeffrey Epstein in 2006 died before the world finally acknowledged what he had proven over a decade earlier. This is the tragedy at the heart of the Epstein Files. It was never a failure of investigation. The investigation was there, detailed, thorough, unimpeachable. It was a failure of prosecution. It was a failure of political will. And the person who paid the highest professional price for doing the right thing was the one man who never wavered. Detective Joseph Recarey identified the victims. He believed them when no one else would. He built the case on their testimony, on physical evidence, on painstaking police work. And the system? From the state attorney's office to the federal prosecutor's office, dismantled what he built, piece by piece, to protect a man who should have been in a federal prison cell. Ask yourself this: if one detective in Palm Beach could identify 40 victims in 11 months, what could the full resources of the FBI and the Department of Justice have uncovered if they had actually pursued this case in 2007? How many victims between 2008 and 2019, during those 11 years of freedom that the plea deal purchased for Jeffrey Epstein, could have been spared? Those are not rhetorical questions. They are questions that demand answers. Answers that no official body has fully provided. How many victims between 2008 and 2019, during those 11 years of freedom that the plea deal purchased for Jeffrey Epstein, could have been spared? Those are not rhetorical questions. They are questions that demand answers. Answers that no official body has fully provided. The powerful bury the truth, but paper has a longer memory than power. If this episode opened your eyes, hit subscribe and the bell icon, because every file matters. Comment below. Do you think Detective Recarey got the justice he deserved? I read every single one. Share this before it disappears from your feed. Next file: the non-prosecution agreement. The document itself. Line by line, clause by clause. The legal architecture of impunity, built by the very people sworn to uphold the law. You will not believe what you're about to read. I'm Mark Epstein, and I'll see you in the next file.